or it will play a city the size of Dayton. And that's simply a fact of the size of the metropolitan area and how quickly the investors in a Broadway show can make their money back. If they play a larger city first, they have more people to draw from, they do more performances, they get their money back faster. And then the tour goes out again and will play what they call secondary markets, which is what the size of Dayton is. So we do sometimes are able to compete with those larger cities and get a tour to come to Dayton first before it plays Cincinnati, for instance. And that happens occasionally, but it's just sort of a fact of the size of our metropolitan area, which is really an asset to us for quality of life in many ways. And that's easier to get around, traffic isn't as bad, cost of living, all those good things. But that is a fact of our business, is that we are in competition with other cities to get performances to come to Dayton. But what's in our favor are all the things everyone has already mentioned. The fabulous atmosphere here in Dayton, the supportive, collaborative environment that artists find themselves in, the Schuster Center itself, the Victoria Theater, our venues, our galleries, are all top-notch, and people want to come back. Tours want to come back to Dayton because they get treated so well here and are so well received. Our audiences are so warm and responsive that we actually have a really excellent reputation in the touring Broadway and touring market, the touring world. People go, oh yeah, I want to go to Dayton. That's going to be a good gig. I want to go there. So Dayton actually competes quite well to bring performing and touring artists to our city because of those aspects.
On the concept of competing for artists, a classic example had a major project in 2006 and is still continuing to today. So in approaching 20 of the top African-American artists, since we focus on providing opportunities for underrepresented and under-supported African-American artists, 17 of the 20 that I wrote with a formal invitation applied, and that's who we work with. When I inquired about the other 3, there was a little fear that if they would reflect so strongly their African-American heritage on this project that they may not be accepted in other venues and other situations. Plus their training may have made them feel that they did not necessarily want to be identified as a Black or African-American artist, but as an artist. But that project was focusing on that some of you heard about, called the Dayton Skyscrapers, where I asked them to turn their visual and creative attention into the community as a way of identifying positive role models. And so what they were charged to do was not to paint the skyline of Dayton in terms of skyscrapers, but find individuals in the African-American community who stand tall in the minds and hearts of the African-American community for what they've achieved and what they've done to help make Dayton a great place to live. That project took off, and it's been a very, very powerful tool for not only creative expression and opportunity for the artists who are participating, but also for the young people in the community. And collaboration, partnership, to have those artists share their work in the heart of the African-American community in the right Dunbar district is pivotal. But to be able to take it the next month right down to Schuster, who has collaborated with us on every year, including this year, and then take it from west to downtown to East Dayton to our sponsor, the Dayton Fire and Light headquarters on Woodman Drive, was a way of sharing with the entire community. I'm not at liberty right now, but yesterday I spent 2 hours on a conference call. This project is being considered, and if so, it'll be released from New York for all 48 states through a national service organization which bears this as being significant. And they will be talking to their executive director, and then every one of their chapters in 48 states, Guam and Puerto Rico, to duplicate and replicate this project that emanated from Dayton and West Dayton in all these chapters of this national organization as being a national initiative that every one of their chapters, and with some states has 3, 4, 5 chapters in, because of its significance. And I'm hoping those 3 artists will see the value of not being afraid to reflect your culture and not being afraid to celebrate it through your artistic creation, just as we do with dance and spoken words, this we do with hip-hop and other creative art forms.
When the Dayton Contemporary Dance Company holds its auditions, it used to hold its auditions in Chicago, New York, and Washington, D.C., because it was felt that was the way to attract the best of the talent. And for the last several years, we've held our auditions here in Dayton because we realized it was it created the artist to invest in travel to Dayton from all over the country. And if you're in New York, you can audition at one company. If you don't get in, there's 50 others that you can audition for. If you can get into a company and it's not a right fit for you, then you can leave that company and again audition for the 50 others that are in that community. But when they come to Dayton, they make an investment so that they know what they're getting into, and then they learn about the supportiveness of the arts community. But they also realize it's a great place to live and the great cost of living. Much easier to live and be a professional artist rather than living in New York, rather than living in Chicago or LA. And also, by coming to Dayton, they realize they have a stronger opportunity to advance their own career, to be at the forefront of this, if they're selected to be part of a solo or part of a prominent spot in a selection, as opposed to just being part of the chorus in a production in Chicago or New York.
All right, so we've touched base on the artists and competitions within the performers themselves. We're going to switch over to the audience and the competition of the audience and tickets. How does competition for the audiences affect the arts in your organization, and how can competition increase or decrease attention to the arts?
Can I take this real quick? Part of the competition, you need to think just a little bit more globally, even just for the region. The competition is with the economy, people's finite amount of expendable income, their limited time. You as St. Clair students, many of you are work full-time as well as going to school full-time. So there's competition for your time. And then there's also the competition for what you consider to be art and entertainment. I had gone to a conference, and the National Endowment for the Arts director said the biggest competition 20 years ago was for the arts organizations was television. Nowadays, it's television, it's YouTube, it's Hulu, it's NASCAR, it's World Wrestling Federation, it's all these other forms of what people are considering entertainment instead of the traditional arts. And so it's forced us all to look at how we are presenting ourselves and how we're reaching out to our audiences.
This is a really good question for those of us who are in marketing. And it's just a matter of understanding your audience and what's going to get them to come to an attendance. To give you an example from the opera point of view, is last year we started a tweet seat program where we allowed people in a section, a specific section of the audience, to mute their phones but be able to use them during a production. And I thought half of my patrons would have heart attacks over this. And it was a very controversial process, but actually it worked out quite well to the fact that we're going to extend it to the ballet this year, now that we're merged. So, also the arts realize that we have to be everything to everybody, and that we need to, it's our responsibility to help develop a new audience. And so we spend a lot of time in audience development, working with, we all offer student discounts, I'm sure, for those of us who work with venue productions. So it's trying to get the word out there, just trying to get people hooked, almost like a drug dealer on the art of choice, and hopefully with more positive turnout.
When we're competing for audiences, I mean, it's true, you have to, I really agree with what Jay was saying, that it's not just, am I going to go to the opera or City Folk, or am I going to go to a gallery this weekend? It's, am I going to do the laundry? Am I going to spend time with my kids? Am I going to, work in the yard? I mean, it's how you spend your leisure time. And some of the research that's coming out, has been coming out for the last few years, really speaks to people wanting more from an arts experience than just sitting in a performance space and watching a performance, or just going to a gallery and walking through it and that's it. They want to have more connection with the art, they want to have more connection with how it's created, they want to have more connection with their fellow audience members, etc. So there's a lot of, it's not new, this kind of thinking, but I think it's becoming, as the economy has been so tight over the past several years, and we are competing for every leisure dollar and every leisure second, I think the focus on engagement and enhancing the overall experience with added whatever is becoming more and more a part of how we operate. I will readily admit it is not something that adding, pre-show talks or pre-show wine tastings or special Q&As afterwards. I will admit the Victoria Theatre Association has been slow to embrace that kind of thinking for myriad reasons. But now we actually have a new education and engagement director who is really all about that. And we're seeing some really great success with it. And we're finding that it's connecting us to people in a way that just coming to the show wasn't. I'll use the example of a wine tasting that we did before the Branford Marsalis performance just at the end of September. And we had 80 people there for that event who really weren't regular arts attendees, and the idea of doing the wine tasting and then going to hear the jazz quartet was something that really resonated and connected for them. And we got a chance to talk to those people and connect with those people in a way that we would not have if we had not offered that very simple, fairly mundane pre-show opportunity. So I think that's one of the ways that we compete for the audience member, the potential audience member's attention, time, and money, is by adding more to the experience than just the art itself, something that enhances the experience.
Well, audience development is really an important thing for an organization like ours. It's very difficult because of the limited time and all the other reasons that have been said in terms of why it's difficult to identify. But it's an added difficulty for us, and it's been softened somehow from individuals at the universities, because they usually will assign students to go to a museum, pick a piece of work, and use their artistic language to it, and analyze it and respond to it. But just by the fact that Sinclair, Wright State, and Central State, Wilberforce, and the University of Dayton said you could go to State Art Institute, you could go to DBAC, you could go to the Ebonea Gallery in West Dayton. That brings individuals in that we don't normally see, and we're very much interested in trying to help those students of color at the universities broaden their perception. Because they leave the university sometimes thinking, I'm now cultured, so now I can get me a membership, or the corporations will encourage their new hires to get a membership to the ballet, symphony, or opera, and don't realize that there's some other things. So I spend as much time with the young leadership group to the Chamber of Commerce's, both the Dayton Chamber of Commerce and the African American Chamber of Commerce, and telling these young professional future audiences to also broaden their perception. There are some other boards you can get on, like the DCDC, or when there was the drama group from Sheila Ramsey. as well as ours. So you have those other kind of options that you will find just as beneficial if you can just broaden that point, rather than to take the attitude that ice is colder on the other side of the street.
Again, as a perspective as an educator, our competition is for students for our programs. And I spend a lot of time in outreach activities with local high schools, meeting one-on-one with our teachers in the community, meeting one-on-one with potential students and their parents. And I think one of the most wonderful things that I have happen in each of these sessions is not only talking with them about the program, and many of them are shocked that we have such a comprehensive fine art program here at Sinclair, but when they see the facilities, when they get to meet the department faculty, many of them make the decision that Sinclair is a great place to start and then transfer on to complete the four-year experience, and usually a BA in either art education or a BFA in fine arts. And so that really is where our competition happens, trying to get those students in the door, get them in our programs and help them to be successful. But then again, it goes back to collaboration, because many of our students will transfer to Wright State University or to the University of Dayton or to Central State. And so then that also means linking up the faculty in those schools and working collaboratively with them. So it is competitive, yet also it goes right back to collaboration.
I'll second what Kelly said, because obviously we have the same, requirement. We need students in our program, and so we do spend a great deal of time outreaching to the community, and we find the same surprised faces when they do visit the facility and they see what the department has to offer. So that's definitely one of the things that we spend a great deal of time doing. We also are competing for audience members, and we are constantly trying to engage the Sinclair College community to come to our shows. We've done things like offer, obviously we offer a student discount like most organizations do. We have really been trying to continue this initiative on campus to do co-curricular experiences where the professors of certain classes will integrate the production that we're doing on our stage into their classroom, whatever it is they're studying. This works out really great when we do something like a Shakespeare show, because someone's teaching Shakespeare and it's really easy to make the connection. With some other shows it's a little more difficult, but we do offer discounts for instructors, and we really try to get a lot of marketing out there so that they know that the program exists and that they can create some sort of co-curricular activity and encourage their students to come and see theater. One other way, and I'm not sure if this is something that other people experience, but we have a great deal of conflict when it comes to our season selection. And this is something that, obviously one of the drives for choosing your season is that you want people to come and see the shows. We have the alternate issue of needing to provide certain experiences for our students. And so we are constantly looking at, okay, when was the last time we did Shakespeare, or when was the last time we did something from the late 1800s? What kind of opportunities and learning experiences are we providing for our students? And then we're trying to kind of second guess, how are we preparing them for the world? What kind of things are they going to need to be adept at when they go out to audition or try to get roles in professional theater. So we're constantly trying to create that balance and expose them to the necessary things.
I'll just make one comment. I think I consider myself an art consumer and all art. And I think if you make one generalization, I personally, the more I'm able to get into that particular piece of art and understand it better, the richer the experience. So that's kind of the level that Muse operates on. If you know something about what you're going to see or try, your level of enjoyment probably will be increased. You don't necessarily, but your awareness, and then you may go try for a deeper understanding. And it doesn't matter whether it's kabuki theater in Japan, whatever it is, it's about learning something about it and then going and experiencing it and then being able to deepen that understanding. So it is an educational thing.
Now we're going to switch from the topic of audiences, and audiences bring in profit, and we're going to get into the subject of funding and ticket pricing and stuff like that before we can go into the question and answer session. My question to the panel is, how does competition for funds affect the organization? And are ticket or higher ticket prices an indication of richer experiences, or is it opposite?
I just have to say something. Okay, again, we have a slightly different perspective based on being educators in a college, but we have amazing opportunities for people to come and witness performing arts. Our music department, if you don't know, has stellar performances, and they're free. So we have to be very careful not to equate the amount of dollars that are spent on a performance, or you can walk into the art galleries, Building 13, at any time free of charge, and they are wonderful exhibitions. So that's just my 2 cents here about the dollar value. Now, the rest of you in the community can speak to the other.
And as being the arts organization that probably has the highest ticket prices for some of our product, I will speak right after that. And you saw me immediately saying, no, the price of the ticket does not indicate the richness of the arts experience. The price of the ticket indicates the demand for the ticket. Now, on our Broadway series, we have shows like Wicked or Jersey Boys or Phantom or Lion King, and the tickets can be upwards over $100. And that's because from a popularity, from a more commercial standpoint, the demand for those tickets means that the market will bear that price. And the for-profit commercial producers who put that show on the road are going to make their money back, and then some, and then some, and then some. We are sort of in a funny position in that we're a not-for-profit arts organization, arts presenter that brings in touring performances of all kinds. But the Broadway show producers are not not-for-profit. They are for-profit in the biggest sense of the word. So, yes, I mean, it doesn't mean that Lion King or Wicked are not rich arts experiences. It just means that the ticket price is no indicator whatsoever. But I think there's a difference between ticket pricing and what that means in the sense of competing for people's time and leisure dollars and everything, and funding. Those are 2 separate issues. So. And I think I'm going to hand that to Kathleen, who looks like she's ready to talk about the funding issue.
I will talk about funding.
Okay, good.
Because that is another area where a lot of our arts organizations do compete, because as the audience dollars have gone down, so has corporate dollars and foundation dollars. So the competition, it kind of goes back to what we spoke about a little bit before. It forces us and it gets us to think creatively and to think about collaboration, because if you as an audience member or you as a corporate funder can give money and support DCDC and City Folk and Blue Sky, then your dollars go that much farther. They get exposed to a lot more audiences, so it's beneficial for everyone. And again, it forces us to be creative and not just throw a presentation out there. We really have to think about what is it that you want to see and how can we make the most of our dollars. So it does get a little tricky sometimes, but luckily in Dayton we all do work very well together, and everybody's really open to thinking about collaboration and how we can work. So I think it's nice because we're competitors, but we're very friendly competitors on a level.
For the classic arts, the opera, ballet, philharmonic, development dollars or funding dollars could be 40 to 60% of what a person is paying for their ticket. So we are really in debt, literally, to organizations like Vector, DP&L, and as these companies are National Endowment for the Arts, for that matter, national funders. So we're really appreciate their support, as should the audience. Opera, and I would imagine musical theater, can be very expensive because it incorporates live music, sets, obviously singers, that type of thing. So that's why tickets can be really expensive. And for organizations like I represent, that are actually non-profit organizations, we have to be very careful about what we choose and how we put on a production, because it all affects the bottom line. And unfortunately, as Kathleen just said, funding is not increasing.
I guess a couple things you might like to know that I learned. For the performing arts, especially musical theater, for the Muse Machine production, the most expensive piece of the production are the rights to the whatever we choose to do, the royalties. And they can run upwards of $40,000. And we get a break on that price because our people are not paid, they're all students, so we get the very best price. So before any of the other groups could even consider presenting this, if they are for regular audiences, they've got to pay for the rights to use the material. So that, I bet most people don't know that. The best deal in town is the Muse Machine student price. Seriously, this is what all these people at this table do. They do things they don't do other places because it's for students and opportunities for students to have the experiences. And I can't thank any of them enough. They give the best price, and a price lower than even their student prices to Muse Machine members, so that they have opportunities to try a lot of things. So it's the best thing in town when you're a student in one of the high schools or junior highs to go try a lot of things. The DAI does the same thing. Incredible opportunities to get to know the art over there, and they have some great art representing just about everything. I mean, it's a wonderful regional art museum, and you can have a sample of just about anything at the DAI.
We have a kind of blessing and a curse being a part of the college entity, because we are not dependent upon audience support financially or donors for our funding. We're dependent upon the college, and for the most part, the college is going to give us the same amount of money they gave us last year. But it does speak to how effective we are when we have large audience numbers, and when we have high production value to our productions, when the president or the provost or whoever it is on campus that gets to make those decisions comes and sees the shows and likes what they see on stage, and when they see that we have the high audience numbers that we do,